What's up, fellas? In the first video of the day, we're going to be talking about some NBA playoff matchups that I'm sure we all certainly would like to see. Some of these are in the first round. Some of these even go all the way to the finals. There's just a couple of matchups, some teams that we would really like to see play against each other, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the second video of the day. As always, let me know down in the comment section below if I missed a playoff matchup that you would have liked to see, or if you disagree about any of the selections that I have here on this list. With all those things said, really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every single day on this channel. It's a great place for the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. And if you're new here, by the way, what's up? My name is Tucker. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials in a Linktree link down in the description below. With those things said, let's go ahead and talk about some of these playoff matchups. So first up, this is kind of a personal one for me. I think Knicks-Nets would be so much fun. And for a while, it looked like we might get that in the first round, but with the way New York's been playing lately, they're going to have home court advantage in the first round, and we could potentially see this as a second round matchup. Either way, this would be super fun. You know, the Nets, assuming they're healthy, are going to be huge threats in the postseason this year. And the Knicks have been a team that has just been on a roll lately. They've been right around the 7th and 8th seed for most of the year. And now suddenly they're looking at home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. And there's actually a lot of parallels here between these two franchises and where New York is right now and where Brooklyn was 2 years ago. And they've never really had a truly important postseason series against each other when they've both been good. And really, there's not been very many regular season matchups where both of these teams have been good as well, at least since the Nets have been in Brooklyn. So this one, I think if you're ranking these and you're looking at, potential second round matchups, this one's near the top of the list, just strictly from an entertainment and a narrative standpoint. The Knicks can really guard. They've got a lot of guys they can kind of throw at the big three there in Brooklyn. And, they're certainly going to give energy and effort. It would be awesome if we had full crowds. That's obviously not going to happen. But ultimately, I can't even imagine what it would be. Like, imagine if the Knicks went up 2-1 on the Nets in the second round of the playoffs. It would be wild. It would be crazy. I'm amped just talking about it, just thinking about it. This one would be super fun. Next up, one that I'm sure Bucks fans don't want to see here. How about the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round? The reason I say in the first round is because it's possible we get like a 3-6 matchup here with Miami and Milwaukee. And, after what happened in the postseason last year, that's probably not a team that Milwaukee wants to see, and it's a team that Miami probably has a lot of confidence against. Now, granted, Milwaukee has a different roster now. No more Eric Bledsoe, Drew Holiday's in there, and the Heat have not been playing particularly well this year. I think everybody's kind of waiting on that moment where the Heat get it together and they start to look really good, and they just have not been able to all get on the same page. They have not all been able to get healthy. Tyler Hero has had a very inconsistent up and down season, and so ultimately, I'm not sure if the Heat can find that same magic that they found against the Bucks in last year's bubble. But ultimately, just from an entertainment standpoint, it just feels like there'd be a lot of pressure on this Milwaukee team to kind of erase what happened in the postseason last year and to, I don't know. I personally think when I'm looking at first round matchups in the East, there's a lot of interesting and exciting ones. We'll talk about some of those in a little bit. But ultimately, Heat Bucks in the first round, I think, would be super cool. Next up now. One that I think we're kind of overlooking here a little bit. Lakers Clippers. Okay. We thought we were getting this last year. Everything pointed towards the two LA teams being the two best teams in the West last year. And that clash and them playing in Staples Center together was going to be one of epic proportions, right? And then everything kind of went off the rails in the world in general and in the NBA specifically, where we didn't have fans. We were playing in the bubble. And the Clippers didn't even make the conference finals. So that kind of put a wrench in the plans. But like every single time these two teams played each other regular season last year, everybody was like, Western Conference Finals preview. I mean, I was treating those regular season games last year between the Lakers and Clippers as like potential previews of like, oh, well, how are they going to match up here? Who's going to guard this guy? What kind of things are they kind of keeping in their back pocket for the postseason? It always kind of felt like that was the matchup we were going to get. And then we were robbed of that. And now I think people are really overlooking that, and maybe specifically the Clippers as well. Like, the Jazz are really good. The Suns are really good. This might not even happen in the conference finals. Like, this could be a second round series depending on how the standing stuff works out. But ultimately, I want that Lakers Clippers matchup. I want everybody to be healthy, and I want us to see it one time, because there's no guarantee that in this era of, LeBron, AD, Paul George, Kawhi, we're ever going to get it. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure that we get to see it one time, and it's not something we look back and like, man, what if we ever got to see these two teams match up head to head? I still think from a schematic standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, from a matchup standpoint, it is incredibly interesting basketball wise, and certainly there are no shortage of narratives either. And it's possible that we start to get some fans in there as well in the Staples Center, which again would be super, super cool. So that's one to keep an eye on. Second to last now, maybe a bit of an under the radar Eastern Conference one here. Hawks Celtics, first round. Okay. Now we'd have to get this in like a 4-5 matchup. And I guess potentially it could happen in the second round as well. But of all of the kind of random out of nowhere first round Eastern Conference matchups, this is the one that I probably want to see more than any other. I want to see what Trae Young and those guys look like in the postseason. I mean, they're going to be a playoff team pretty clearly at this point. I want to see what they look like with that amount of pressure. Of course, they can score the ball. Bogdanovich has been playing extremely well lately. And then Boston has been incredibly up and down, but of course, they've got plenty of talent themselves as well. And there's plenty on the line for both those teams. Like, if the Celtics go through this season, and it's been up and down, and then they lose in the first round to Atlanta, I don't even want to know what Celtics Twitter is going to look like if that's the way that their season ends up, given, just everything they've gone through this year. And then for Atlanta, like if they go into the first round and get absolutely pummeled by a Celtics team that has been so up and down this year, then that is not necessarily going to be a step back for them. It's still a huge deal to make the postseason, but it's definitely going to kind of pump the brakes on some of their thoughts about how good their team is or isn't. So ultimately, if I got to pick, if you're looking at, the Knicks, the Hawks, the Celtics, the Pacers, the Wizards, whatever is going on from the 5 seed down to the 4 seed down, if you want to throw the Knicks in there in the East, if I could pick any matchup individually that I want to see out of that group, it's Hawks Celtics. I feel like there's narratives there. I feel like it would be exciting from a scoring perspective, and there's a lot of pressure on both those franchises as well. And then last up, this one's probably pretty obvious, right? Lakers Nets in the finals, specifically a fully healthy Lakers team and a fully healthy Nets team. I think if you really want to brainstorm all of the most interesting potential finals matchups that we could have this year, I don't think any of them compare to Lakers Nets. From a star power perspective, you've got an entire starting lineup between the two teams of all-time great players. Harden, Durant, Kyrie, AD, LeBron. Incredible star power there. There's no shortage of graphics you can put up on the screen during the game, you know what I mean, to really illustrate how good these two teams are and how good, the star power is. And then you've got plenty of guys that are going to need to step up in these series as well, you know what I mean? Like KCP is going to need to hit some shots. Dennis Schroeder is going to need to play well. Joe Harris is going to have to go out there and make some shots. Jeff Green's going to have to guard. Nicholas Claxton might have a huge role in that series trying to defend Anthony Davis. Like, there are so many storylines, so many different matchups there. And again, the key here is for them to be fully healthy, because where I'm at right now is, I don't know who in the world is going to make a run in the postseason. It could be very, very weird. But if both these teams go into the postseason and you could just sprinkle some magic fairy dust on them and say they're fully healthy now and they're going to be fully healthy throughout the entire playoffs, I think they're the two teams that are going to meet in the finals. As good as the Jazz have been this year, as good as the Suns have been this year, I don't think they can compete with the Lakers. And then the Nets, it's going to be probably Philly, maybe a little bit of Milwaukee stuff in there as well to potentially hold them back. But just from a narrative standpoint and from an entertainment standpoint, I don't think you could ask for a better matchup than these two teams. I mean, you've got the LeBron KD stuff, right? Where like KD still really wants to prove that he's, better than LeBron. The Kyrie LeBron stuff where, their relationship certainly was interesting there in Cleveland. Harden trying to prove, or disprove, I guess, this mindset that people have about him where he's not a postseason performer. He doesn't show up in big moments, and kind of validating everything this Brooklyn team has been trying to do over the last couple of seasons from a roster building standpoint. The possibility of the Lakers going back to back, LeBron getting that would be his 5th title, almost all the way to 6, right? It'd be 5th. There's so many storylines here, so much intrigue, and two of the biggest markets in the league as well, arguably the two biggest markets. So in a season that's been weird, in a season that's been up and down, and where both these teams have been dealing with injury issues, and you don't really know if they're going to get to the finals, if you could close your eyes and pick a finals matchup and you weren't a fan of any particular team, this would be the best one. I think the Lakers have the best chance to beat the Nets, and I think that the Nets have the best chance to beat the Lakers out of any team in the league, and that's the one that I want to see. If I had one wish, if genie in a bottle right now, I could snap my fingers and I could say, what do I want the finals matchup to be? It's these two teams, okay? But ultimately, all of these matchups are going to be super, super fun, right? Knicks, Nets, Heat, Bucks, Lakers, Clippers, Hawks, Celtics, Lakers, Nets. That's what I want to see. I don't know if we're going to get all these. I don't know if we're going to get any of these. but these are some ones I want to see. Let me know down in the comment section below which matchups you guys want to see, just without taking into account your own fandom, right? You know what I mean? Like, do you want to see the Wizards go up against the Nets in the first round? Do you think that would be an exciting and interesting first round series? Do you want to see, you know, the Suns and the Jazz meet up in the conference finals, the two teams that have the best records in the league, the two teams that have been, you know, some of the better stories in the league this year, really fighting it out to prove that they're the best, potentially make it to the finals. There's all kinds of really interesting ones here, and this is just kind of a short list for me. So let me know down in the comment section below what you guys potentially want to see. But with all those things said, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like rating on it. Check out more videos from me, the Box on Screen, as well as the channel as a whole. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday, and I will see you all next time.